thank you so much for making the time to sit with us this morning. We deeply appreciate that you were able to find it. We know how sparse your time is and how valuable your time is. So we are looking forward to a wonderful engagement this morning.
Thank you very much, Wendy, and good morning to you. I'm so happy to be here. You know, being a female leader is an interesting journey, always an interesting journey. And I'm happy to share, my journey.
Yeah,
Very happy to share my journey.
Michelle, as we go through these interviews, I can tell you that, this is becoming a lot more than I can anticipate. And you're right, everyone's journey is unique and they are all beautiful. They're fraught with challenges, but it really comes out to speak about the characters that we have, that we are fortunate to have leading the industry. And so I'm really anxious to speak with you and also to get your story out to our viewers and listeners. So let's get started. So let's get started, Michelle. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who is Michelle Palmer, where you started, and where you are today?
Well, I think a simple description of who I am. I'm a simple Trini girl, a simple Trini girl with a passion for developing people and adding value to organizations that I am involved with, whether it be organizations that I'm employed at or organizations that I give of my time, to give back to society. What's my most valued achievement? My handsome, well-balanced 23-year-old young man. That is my most valued achievement.
Nice, beautiful.
Yeah, but if I take it on the professional side, I started my career at Republic Bank maybe about 35 years ago. Yes, I started when I was 2 years old.
There you go. I was trying to do the math, and that's what I came up with.
And I started at entry level. Back in the day, it was a recession in Trinidad at the time, and banks were really the only companies that were employing at that time. So I started at entry level, and I planned only to be with the bank for about a couple of years until I could kind of make up my mind what I wanted to do. My background before that was on the science side, chemistry major actually. So it was a bit of a change.
Yes.
But I will say to you that background has helped me tremendously throughout my career. The logical kind of thinking.
Yes.
So I planned to be at the bank for 2 years, and here I am, 35 and more years later. But I've loved absolutely every minute of my career. Why did I stay on so long? Well, I got married a little too young, and I bought a house. So those events sort of calmed my adventurous desire.
Michelle, you're speaking to, I'm sure that this is going to connect with so many people on so many levels, but go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no. And I just worked at the bank and enjoyed life and that type of thing. But I had a nagging question at the back of my mind about the science of marketing and marketers. I always ask myself, how do they convince people of their needs, that this is what you need, and how do you influence consumer behavior? And because of that question that stayed in my mind, and when I think about it, and I'm sure moms looking on would understand this, it's akin to supervillains, in cartoons, plotting to take over the world, and you have this desire at the back of your mind, this question, what will happen if I do this? And that is the kind of feeling that I had. So I went on and I did a marketing degree. So that's it. So I was at the bank doing banking, but I did a marketing degree. And moving on from that, I think I've been really, really lucky at Republic Bank. And I say lucky because of the opportunities that have come my way over the years. They have always been on the forefront of innovation and change within the organization. And that builds and develops your skills in a particular way. Because of course, you're not doing the routine every day. You are exposed to so much more, and it builds within you a yearning for learning, being involved, with everything new. So over the years, I'm very grateful and thankful that that has been, that was my experience at Republic Bank. In 2003, I was seconded to the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
Totally different culture, totally different language.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, and I was seconded to lead the credit card business of a bank that we acquired, that Republic acquired in the Dominican Republic. And that, I think, was the turning point in my career. I mean, whilst I've always been ambitious, but I don't draw organization charts. I never draw boxes and say, this is where I'm going to be in 5 years. But that attachment to the Dominican Republic started to develop my leadership qualities.
Okay.
I think that is where it happened, and so I spent 3 years in the DR, loved absolutely every moment of it. My son was about 6 years old at the time, and he joined me there. So, he became bilingual and remains bilingual.
Fantastic.
So, I mean, what a benefit. What a benefit.
Fantastic.
What a
Absolutely.
benefit from your job.
Yeah.
I've made long life friends. I immersed myself into the culture. And that was a great experience for me.
Absolutely.
I went back to Trinidad after 3 years, and all continued along that journey of being in groundbreaking type of positions, and I think that is really my journey, and what has developed me into who I am today.
Fantastic. Michelle, that is such a wonderful way to start. I mean, you speak about the opportunities and how you see them, where perhaps others may have seen the challenges associated with moving with a young child to a whole new culture, to a whole new place with which you have obviously no ties and a different language. But listening to you, all I heard was the gratitude, the learning opportunities for yourself and your son. So that is going to certainly set the framework, I am sure, for what we are going to be talking about as we go through, and certainly some life lessons there for others who are going to encounter opportunities. I don't like to say challenges. I like to speak about opportunities. Absolutely. And the mindset that we have to adopt to come out on the winning side, right? So tell us a little bit about your own guiding principles and success traits. What would you say those are?
So my guiding principles, let's kind of start with that. Authentic, individual thinker, people centered. It's about my people and their development. Collaborative leadership. And collaborative both from the leadership perspective, leading teams, as well as collaborative from a team perspective with my colleagues and peers and so. For me, decision making and leading organizations, it's about drawing on the strengths of many. Yes, you may have your own personal strengths. You may be stronger in some technical areas. I mean, I'm a marketer, but it doesn't mean that one of my other colleagues, a technical person, let's say on the technology side, that they cannot bring value to the conversation and the decisions that must be made.
Mm-hmm.
So guiding, a very important guiding principle for me is collaboration. Yeah, very important to me and my style. Success, my people, the success of my people. That's how I measure my success rates. Yeah, how do I develop my people? How do I give them opportunities? How do I ensure that I am fair to them?
Mm-hmm.
How do I add value every day? Value to the organization and value to my people. Those are my traits. That's what you get from Michelle Palmer 5 years ago, and you're going to get it from her today as well. Strengthened in some areas based on experiences, but remains the same, and an individual thinker.
Right. Right.
I'm not a herd. I'm not part of the herd.
Herd mentality is not happening at your door.
No. Individual thinker.
Absolutely. And Michelle, I think, human capital and recognizing, as you said, the ability to move forward in such a stronger and perhaps even more progressive manner when you recognize people for what they can contribute, what they add, what they bring, is fantastic. I think a little later we'll speak a little bit about how you engage your team for success, and I'm really looking forward to your contribution in that way. Let's get into a little bit of a heavier area that, sometimes gets a little bit touchy. Do you think that your experience in the industry has been different from that of your male counterparts? And if yes, can you call to mind any specific examples that ladies who will be coming into leadership roles might learn from and grow from?
Most definitely, the female experience is a different one.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to take the question back and respond in a different way, Wendy. Less about whether it has been different, positive or negative, to my male colleagues. But I wanna take the conversation along the path, and these are for the young listeners, the young female leaders coming up. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would say understand that there are differences, acknowledge that very early, but do not let it draw you down. Don't let it draw you down. Yeah, it's a fact that there is something called the old boys club. It's a fact. That's life.
Mm-hmm.
And men pull other men along. But that's not going to stop me. I acknowledge that. You pull your fella along. That's fine. I'm going to pull my girls along, and I'm going to find the gaps to add my value.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, we see in banking, when you look across the banking industry, and I mean, I speak primarily for Trinidad, where my experience is, at the lower levels, it's predominantly female. And then when you get up to the C-suite, you ask, well, what's going on here?
Right.
Where did my girls fall off?
Mm-hmm.
And I do not think at all it is a matter of technical competence in any way. It is just the way the world works. And I would say to the young ladies looking on, don't be afraid for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, estrogen, stronger than testosterone. It's gentler, but it's stronger.
Right. You've made such a tremendous point there, and so I want to pause here for a second. You said a couple of things, Michelle. You said we know that in the old boys club, our men pull their pairs along. And then you said you see all of the layers of ladies at the bottom, but when you get to the top, somehow or other, they haven't made it there with you. How much do you think, what is the difference, do you think, between our mindset as ladies? Because oftentimes you hear some ladies telling you they prefer to work with men. Or do you believe that oftentimes we sabotage each other on that journey. You know, how do we get past that? Because I think it's one of those facts that we too need to acknowledge, that we're not the kindest to each other in the workplace.
Yeah, Wendy, we're not. We're not. And I think for me, when I think about it, maybe we work so hard to get ourselves up that when we get up, we are probably not left with enough energy
Right, to look back.
to pull other people up.
Right.
Maybe it's in our makeup that we are super competitive against our sisters. But it is a mindset that I would encourage female leaders to put behind you.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we as women, we have a responsibility to pull our sisters along.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, not pulling our sisters along if they're not worthy. Not at all. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not here saying let's form an old girls club and start pulling people in jobs that they're not qualified for. But I'm saying support your sisters. Support them. You know, at Republic Bank in Trinidad, when I was there, our numbers, female to male in the C-suite, was kind of balanced. You know, it was kind of balanced. But I made a special effort, and this was deliberate. So I think maybe part of the answer, Wendy, is deliberate action. I made special effort to go and rock back in the chair of my sisters, my colleagues, my female colleagues, and chat with them.
Nice.
Not necessarily to chat to them about what's going on at the bank, but sometimes they just want to listen in air with something that's happening at home, or, you know, just shoot a little breeze about shoes and hairstyles. Guys talk about football and cricket.
Yes, you're right. You're so right. You're so right. So here's the challenge that I'm going to put forth, Michelle. You walked yourself into this one, okay? You really walked yourself into this one. Coming out of this program and recognizing exactly what you said, that sometimes you need someone to emulate. You need someone to say to you, you know, I've been there, I've done it, and look, I've survived. So coming out of this first set of interviews that we are doing, getting to know each other as ladies first and leaders after, we want to build a mentorship program. So I'm putting you on the spot to say, Michelle, will you join us in being one of the mentors when we do launch this program early next year?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. I welcome the opportunity.
Fantastic.
And that's one of the ways that I have been deliberately pulling females along through mentorship.
Lovely, lovely. I think it's necessary. I think that people should be able to identify with each other in the industry. And like you shared, just those little things sometimes are all we need to understand that it's not unique to us.
Yeah.
That the health challenges that we face are not unique to us, that someone else is going to face it tomorrow, and we're going to survive, you know, and we're going to do more than survive, we'll thrive.
Absolutely.
So tell us then, as a lady leader, what is something that you are most proud about in your career? As well, can you tell us or share with us something that has been a challenge for you going through the ranks to where you sit today?
I didn't understand.
What am I most proud of? I'm most proud, I'm going to use this word again. I used it a couple of times already, I think. I'm most proud that throughout my career, I have brought my authentic self to the job every day.
Nice.
I am who I am. I bring my womanly strength to the table every day. As I mentioned, you know, guys talk about football and cricket. So when we are in a group setting, and there are, you know, a mix of the female and male, we're going to talk about shoes and hairstyles. Yeah, it's not going to be dominated only about, I mean, I love cricket and football, don't get me wrong. Love it, and I can hold a conversation there as well. But talk to me about shoes now. You like the shoes I'm wearing today? You know, or something like that, you know? So, but at the end of it all, again, a theme that I mentioned earlier, at the end of it all, how do I measure my success thus far? The success is not only about being authentic and being a woman. My success, I measure on my people and how many persons, resources I have prepared to be ready for opportunities that may come their way. Opportunities whether in or out of the current organization. Many years ago, one of my mentors, early in my career, one of my mentors challenged me to identify 3 persons throughout my career with potential, develop them, and mentor them to success.
Nice.
That was around 2000, 1999, 2000. And in 2020, I've passed 3, and now I have greenfield in Arabic.
Yeah.
Because I'm here in the EC, new set of persons. I'm looking for 3 again.
Lovely.
And that's how I measure my success. Challenges, barriers. Throughout my career, a misunderstanding of my passion. You know, passion, not to go back into the gender conversation, but passion in the workplace from a man is seen as passion. Passion for a female in the workplace is seen as aggression.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did I overcome that challenge? I acknowledged it and I had to temper my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't change the world all on my own. And I want to contribute. I want to be happy in my job. I want to add value. I want my colleagues to enjoy their interactions with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I acknowledge that that was a challenge in my job, in my career, and I tempered it.
Fantastic. That is an incredibly appropriate point. So let's rest there for a second again, because women by nature are nurturers, right? So that's our strong suit. We tap into all of the emotion, we bring it out, we deal with it, and we move on, right?
Yeah.
In the workplace, you find you will hear, may or may not be the case, but oftentimes you hear the employee say, but she's so aggressive and she's so abrasive. And they're speaking about their senior lady leaders. I believe that there's a place for that nurturing environment, and more often than not, and you keep speaking to it, the fact that you're authentic and people-centric. I think that when you can find that sweet spot of the nurturer and the leader, then you have the perfect combination. What's your take on that, Michelle, on allowing your vulnerabilities and your emotions to show? Because we often hear women are so emotional about everything. What's your take on that?
Because my success is so steeped in being authentic, yeah, I'm gonna be emotional when I need to be emotional.
Right.
I'm
right.
gonna nurture when I need to nurture. I'm going to be emotional, but I'm not going to necessarily be emotional in my decision making. I'm not going to be emotional to upset other persons around me or make them uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So if I need to take a break, bust some serious cuss in the corner by myself, or tears,
Yeah.
maybe
yeah.
cuss or tears,
Or both. Yeah.
I'm going to do that because, you know, I need to release that. We are women, we will get emotional. I need to release it and then come back.
Yes.
Deal with whatever is before me. To my people, they know that I am a nurturer. You know, I ain't rubbing your back every day.
Right.
But this is something that my employers understand about me and I bring it in my teams as well. When I became a mother, the Republic Bank got a new employee, my son.
Yes.
We are a team. So it's not about Michelle and not about John Michael. It's Team Palmer. And similarly, for my the people that in my team members and those that report to me, it's about you and your family, because I put you under pressure every day to produce value. And when I put you under pressure, I'm putting your entire family under pressure. So, you know, I need to understand that. I need to, you know, I don't want your details every day, but I want to know what's going on in your family. You know, when you are here giving it your all, who's taking care of your kids? Those things are important to me. What arrangements have you made for your kids? You know, what about your husband or your wife? You know, what about them? When you're working hard at night to finish a proposal or whatever you mean, what's happening with them?
Right.
You know, how are they feeling? Are they being neglected? Are you putting things in place, you know, to deal with those with those gaps? So absolutely, Wendy, nurturing, there's a place for it in the organization, most definitely, a place for it as a female leader. I would encourage female leaders not to hide that. Don't bust down in tears every day in front of
Every
people.
minute, you know. Yeah, let's keep it together.
Yeah, go in the corner and cry or cuss or whichever one you need to do.
Right, right.
And then come back and deal with it. I mean, poker face for me, you know. When I am in a challenging situation, you don't know what's happening behind, you know, these eyes and what's happening, my emotions on the inside. But it happens.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. And I'm really happy to hear you say embrace it, because it is who we are, right? Embrace it. What advice would you give to young ladies coming into the industry with aspirations to stay?
I'll repeat something that I said earlier. Don't be intimidated by testosterone. You know, embrace your estrogen and what it brings. As females, we are strong, but we are gentler. We are sweeter. Yeah? Bring that to the table. Keep your focus. Decide on where you want to be. You know, do you want to be a banker? And once you've made that decision, put your focus into being the best banker that you can be. You know, don't try to be who you're not.
Yes.
Yeah, just be known for who you are and for what value you bring. Don't be looking over your shoulder. Don't be looking over your shoulder about what John doing or Mary doing. Don't be looking over your shoulder. This is not, in my mind, this is not a competition on individuals. Yeah, it is about a coming together of different strengths for the ultimate benefit of the organization and your stakeholders and communities that you serve. And when you, in my opinion, and you take that approach, what is due to you will come naturally. It will come naturally.
Fantastic. Michelle, that is so very well said, that it really is not a competition. There is a place for competition, absolutely, but it is in the spirit of getting the organizational goals met. Yeah. So banding together and to your point earlier, collaborating for success is what is going to get us there. So fantastic. I love the fact that you say don't become overly caught up in what others around you are doing. Ensure that you're giving the best of what you have to offer. I think those are the true key messages that Michelle has left with us, some real pearls of wisdom there. So let's not take these lightly. But on the lighter side, Michelle, how do you accomplish that work-life balance that so many of us go searching for?
Well, I have been told that I have a time maker machine.
You don't have 24 hours like the rest of us.
I don't have 24 hours. You know, Wendy, For me, there is no work and non-work. There's life.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I approach both personal and work with the same kind of practical approach. What are the key objectives here? What are the items that I never compromise on? What am I never going to compromise on? What are my values? What value am I adding with the tasks that I choose to do versus those that I choose to outsource? And I'll give you a little story about that, what I mean by that. When I'm a single mom, and when my son was growing up, and it started with the Dominican Republic, I think, a live-in housekeeper nanny was critical, absolutely critical. I couldn't afford it, but I had to make a hard choice. What do I give up in order to afford this? And why was this so important for me to achieve what is described as work-life balance? Because I could outsource the home operation to her. I did not need to worry my head about food being cooked, about clothes being washed, prepared, about the house being clean. She took care of that.
Right.
She was a constant when my son got home from school at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. And then when I got home from work at 5:36, he got my full attention, no distractions, absolutely no distraction. So I didn't substitute my parenting to, I didn't outsource parenting to my housekeeper. I outsourced home operations. Food is about sustenance, right? Does it matter who cooked the food?
No. Right, exactly, yeah.
As long as there is a healthy meal on the table for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, well, what does it matter who cooked? Who really prepared it? I mean,
right.
There are downsides to that, right? My son loves his grandmother's cooking. He never ever talks about my cooking. But I'm a really good cook anyway.
Right. Okay, I'll take you up on that. I hear an invitation in there somewhere.
And similarly, in the workplace, it's the same for me. What is the objective? What am I going after? Am I, Michelle, going to do? And what am I going to delegate? It's just, the same kind of principles. What am I going to give up in order to achieve something larger? So those are the kinds of things that the decisions that I made and I continue to make. There are other things in my life that are just as important as my son. My exercise, I just must do it. I have to do it to keep healthy. And of course, having a good time and not compromising on that.
Yes.
I speak about there's life, but when I'm in the moment, I'm in the moment. So when I'm in the moment at the office, I'm in the moment of the office. When I'm in the moment of parenting, that's John Michael is getting all of that. When I'm in the moment of having a good time, I'm having a really, really good time. And I think an understanding with your employer, whether it is at the leadership level or even down in the trenches with your supervisors or your managers, there must be some respect for what's happening in your personal life. When I have to deal with something with John Michael, I go on. But the bank knows that whatever commitments I made will be met. Yeah. So it's not that I'm out of the door at 4 o'clock and I'm not going to do anything more for the job. What does it matter if you're just chilling in front of the television and you look at a few emails? What does it matter? You know, it's going to save you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 emails you're not going to have to look at tomorrow. You know, so for me, it's less about work-life balance and just life balance.
Fantastic, fantastic. Michelle, so many interesting points came out there. And I think making decisions and being purposeful and having the right mindset is what really makes the difference between what you think is a load to carry or what you recognize for what it is, which is how am I going to survive without this before me, which is, the job. It is the job. Um, and I think recognizing these things for what they are is really going to make the difference between how you decide to approach it. And you're right. Why should I think that if I've taken 15 minutes to deal with something personal during the course of the work day, that I can't find a way to give that back? It may not take 15 minutes, it may take 5, and it may take 20, but life is about give and take. So why do we expect the job to be any different, right?
Wendy, I really like, I never thought of it that way, but you've sort of captured it nicely, purposeful in your decisioning.
Yeah.
And I can think of so many decisions that I made in the last 40 years that were purposeful, with respect to parenting. I made the decision to be an exclusive breastfeeding mom because it brought, I read and I believe it, my son would be less prone to illnesses, to viruses and that type of thing. So, as a single mom, if he got ill, I had to take off work. So, and I would have taken off work if he got ill. So how do I reduce the incidences of him getting ill and having to take off work?
Exactly.
I'm going to be an exclusive breastfeeding mom.
There you go. There you go, right? Yeah, that's what it comes down to. And sometimes we have to try to stop fighting against the grain. These things will happen. But again, Michelle, you make such a good point that you were able to take off work. And there's a trust element, I'm sure, that you had established with the organization so they know that you're not abusing the system. And so there's a greater flexibility, there's a greater acceptance to work with you when you need the organization to work with you, or the reverse, when you need to work with them. And so trust is important. And guys, I guess what I'm really trying to say is the organization is going to be like any other relationship. There are certain boundaries that must be established. So we must have a trusting relationship. We must have open dialogue. And, we spoke a lot about nurturing and the softer side, but it's also incumbent on your superior, your lady leader, to take some hard decisions every now and again, because that too is part of the relationship of the job, right? Like I said, there'll be boundaries, there'll be things that you can push a little bit on, but once you've established yourself as trustworthy, it's a lot easier for your decision maker to work alongside you. And that's just the crux of it. It's not just banking, it's anywhere. It's any institution and it's any relationship really, right?
Building that relationship with your supervisor, no matter what level of the organization you're in, building that relationship, not a friendship, a professional relationship that's, as you mentioned, built on open dialogue and trust. It's critical to your success, and critical to your happiness at work. Yeah. I don't think in my career I've ever had an antagonistic relationship with any supervisor or manager that I worked with. They're human beings just like I am. And they have responsibilities to their job, and they're depending on me to help them achieve those responsibilities. So they're going to hear from me when I think things are right and they're definitely going to hear from me when I think things are going, on the left side.
Yeah.
But they're going to get some recommendations. I'm not just going to gripe. But sometimes you need to gripe, eh? Sometimes you just need to gripe.
Sometimes you need to vent. Yes, absolutely. But you make a good point about not just venting or griping for the sake of venting or griping, but to show your commitment to the cause. Let's put it that way, to show your commitment to the cause, because you're a soldier battling through like everybody else. But because you're in the position, maybe you do have a suggestion. And so it really shouldn't come across as you're putting this person on the spot to see whether or not they can fix it, because you know you can. And sometimes we see these things happening because you figure, let me test her a little bit. Where we really should be walking in and saying something like, what would get your attention, Michelle? What does your employee need to do so that you feel that they're really batting for you and for the organization, so to speak, if there is a problem? What should that look like?
Understanding that the problem belongs to all of us, to me, is the first step, So I'm going to be very uncomfortable with any team member who is snickering in the corner about a challenge that we are facing.
Right.
So for me, acknowledging we all in this together, because when it's good times, we all in it together, we all two ponytails swinging in the air, we're very happy. So when it's rough times, my expectation and what, will give you a lot of marks in my eyes would be when you acknowledge we're in this together, you roll your sleeves up and you bring value to the resolution. Whether it be a thought, whether it may be, it may be a problem, let's say that we are forced to work late. Let's just keep it simple, yeah? So it's some kind of operational issue that you're just in. And, you may not have a solution to what we're doing, but just being there, asking you want some tea, you want some coffee, you want some water, that type of thing. Anybody need anything printed? Those kinds of things. Just adding your value in whatever way. And just being there for the team. You're going to gain a lot of marks from me for that. A lot of marks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Talking about tough times, Michelle, let's talk about the year 2020 and COVID-19. OMG, right? We're all still reeling. But I think there's been some good learning for everyone, right? So what has COVID 2019 taught you about Michelle Palmer?
So COVID-19, a couple of things. Self-responsibility for the benefit of your community, right? So that's one big thing for me with COVID-19. Second big thing for me with COVID-19 is things will get better, It might get worse before it gets better, but it's going to get better. And guess what? It's one day at a time you have to deal with. So let's not try and deal with 10 years down the road. Let's deal with keeping safe, and we are in banking, keeping our customers open, if they can be open, their businesses, supporting those that their circumstances changed tremendously. To me, those were the important lessons. Self-responsibility so that you can support your communities in whatever way. And on a leadership level now, digging deeper than you've ever gone before, because it ain't about you. It's about those around you that depend on you.
Yes.
I'm very positive about 2020, so many opportunities, right within the bank. I have seen resources step forward and embraced the opportunities, that have come their way. Without COVID-19, maybe those opportunities would not have
Exactly.
come their
Yeah.
way, I have seen some of our customers pivoting and finding new and different ways to do things, and understanding the need for diversifying their portfolio. Before, they weren't thinking about that. Yeah, man, no. 120% profit. What could be better? 120% profit went to zero overnight.
Yes.
But the resilience, so resilience of people, that gives me a lot of joy.
Yes.
When I see the resilience
Yeah.
of people during COVID-19.
And you're so right. I listened to a lot of people when we were first faced with this pandemic, speaking about, oh my God, it's the worst thing. And then you speak to them a couple months later and everyone has settled down and they're thankful. A lot of people are thankful, not like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened, but thankful because you have an opportunity to refocus, recenter, and look at things from a different perspective.
Yep.
And so I think there's been some great learning with COVID. And you're right, it has taught us just how resilient we can be. But it has also taught us that in the midst of adversity, that there's a lot to be accomplished. When you're brought to zero, there's a great place that you can get to if you stay focused on something, right? So that has truly been fantastic. And certainly in terms of your self-responsibility, I think that we are all still in that place where we need to remember and recognize that we have a critical role to play within ourselves for greater success to be accomplished, right?
Absolutely.
So, COVID is, and we will continue to move with it. In terms of movement, from your perspective, Michelle, and you said 35 years in the industry or 35 years with Republic, do you think that the industry has evolved in terms of how we recognize ladies in the workplace?
So I don't think the industry has much of a choice but to evolve as to how we recognize females in the workplace. So let's just do a timeline, right? Let's just do a timeline. So maybe 50 years ago, 60 years ago, banks were small organizations, mostly men employed, a few females, the secretary, that type of thing, right? And maybe the population was underbanked. And as we moved along and banking became a critical function in life, the workforce became mainly females. So the leaders of that time had to deal with it because females have things going on, they have children, that might get sick or have something at school, and and I come in today, my child have fever, my child have small chicken pox, whatever, you have to deal with it. So I would say definitely the industry has evolved to understand that with a high percentage of females in the workplace, there is need for evolution in the way in which we manage resources as well.
Yes.
So from that perspective, I definitely think so. Yes, I definitely think there's been evolution for dealing with females in the
right.
And positive. So not devolution, evolution.
Right. Absolutely. And we see evidence of it now, which is, the genesis of the Lady Leadership Program. I mean, you said it from the start, 15, 20 years ago, would we have seen ladies holding these very senior roles? I think it speaks to the fact that the mindset within the industry themselves have changed and have grown. I think there's still a lot of growth to happen.
Absolutely.
But I think we as ladies also have a part to play in shaping that change and the experience with which it will happen.
Yeah.
So
and not only shaping, and absolutely, Wendy, shaping the change, but not only shaping the change in the C-suite, but using your influence in the C-suite for the changes that must happen down at the
Yes.
lower levels.
Yes, definitely.
Lower levels.
Absolutely. So speaking of influencing change strategically from the C-suite, tell me, Michelle, how do you encourage and empower your own teams for success?
Okay, let me see what I do. For me, it's about sharing a vision of success that we can all enjoy as a team. Yeah. And the success, yes, it will be the organization success, but how do we enjoy that success as a team? You know, is it a value that we're bringing to the organization? Are we solving something that the organization has been struggling with for a long time? Is it something innovative that we will bring to the organization that will put them and set them apart from competitors? What's that vision, and what does it mean for us as a team?
Right.
And then I say to my team, now you go and play your part in us achieving this team success.
Yes.
I'm around, I'm here. If you need me for anything, you know, at any time, because remember, it's no separation of work and non-work, right? I remind my team all the time, your family members are part of this team. You know, we're all in this together. And I also ensure that my team members understand I am their best advocate. Their best advocate. I remember a few years ago, one of the younger members of the team, not even a manager, I started a reverse mentorship program in my unit in Trinidad, my previous job, because I wanted to hear what the young people had to say. I felt that they could teach me a few things, and about not only about digital things, because we are digital natives, but I thought that they could teach me a few things about leadership and leading in today's world. So I had this reverse mentorship program. Once a month, they'll come and fill up my head with all kind of things, which I learned. And I remember one of the young ones, saying in one of these sessions, Michelle, but nobody dare say nothing about your team members,
Right.
on them, like white on rice kind of thing. So it's, to me, it's about giving the support at whatever level you need to give the support to your people, sharing that vision, sharing that vision, ensuring that there is a buy-in in the vision. And I've always found that sharing a team vision, that people buy into that. Yes, if you share an individual vision for an individual person, of course they will buy in. But then if it doesn't work out, to me, that's worse.
Yes.
If you share a team vision, even if you fall a little short, everybody take a little bit on their shoulder, and you survive. You survive to tell the tale another day. So sharing the vision, giving people room, giving them room to do their thing, but giving them the support when they need it.
Absolutely. Speaking of, people dipping into your cup, because clearly I don't hear a micromanager anywhere in there. Who has inspired you and motivated you and kept you full, Michelle?
So there's one, there are two people that pop into my head as we're speaking, yeah? One that has been a constant inspiration for me, and absolutely nothing to do with business.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela.
Okay.
He's been a tremendous inspiration for his selflessness, his ability to forgive, his ability to have a dream and not lose that drive and desire to achieve that dream despite the challenges. And I think For me, Nelson Mandela and his inspiration, as I've explained, can be used in so many ways in life. You know, the dream and the positiveness to move forward in business as a leader. You know, don't focus on the challenge. Let's focus on the opportunities. Kind of
Yes.
every day plan how you're going to move from A to B. And the selflessness. It's not about you. You're not doing this. Nelson Mandela wasn't doing this for him, but for his people and the world. Yeah. So that keeps me going most times. And the other new inspiration that I've picked up over the last few years is Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, you know, she's an amazing woman. You know, she understands the need to respect history, the need to respect people for who they are, not who you want them to be. And she's willing to fight for that. I don't consider myself a feminist. I don't consider myself a feminist. Jacinda is described as a feminist. But when I read about her and I look at her actions, you know, she ain't fighting nobody, you know, she's just saying this is the way it should be.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And this is why it should be so, because it's the right thing to do. You know, she's not trying to convince anybody about how a woman has been downtrodden for how many, you know, she's not talking that. She's just saying it's the right thing to do. And she is such a focused leader. You know, she sees New Zealand for where she wants it to be, and she's working.
She's going for it. She's going for it.
And she's
against all odds. Yeah. Yeah.
Gentle and have a good sense of humor, and you know, she inspires me.
You can relate. Fantastic. That's definitely new for us, I think. So we're going to be doing our background checks on Lady Jacinda. Michelle, when faced with challenges though, and you know they will come, we know they will come. They come
Every day.
Yeah, they come in. What is your go-to strategy to ensure that you come out smiling and positive and happy and still able to continue to lead your team? What's your go-to strategy?
Breathe. Start with that. Breathe. Life happens, right? Breathe. Get to the core challenge. What is this challenge really about? So move the weeds aside. Yes, he says so, she says so, her face was set up, his face was set up, blah, blah, blah. You know, move those things aside. What's the core challenge that you're dealing with? Once you identify the core challenge, and I'm speaking now as a lady leader, my next step is collaboration for a solution. But for me, collaboration for a solution, when you as the leader, when you are not clear in your mind as to really what is the core of this challenge, you're going to just talk plenty and vent plenty, and it will be very difficult to guide and keep your teams focused on the resolution. It's about resolution. Once the challenge has been identified, the core challenge has been identified, and collaborating, using the strengths of many for that solution. Yeah, so that has been my go-to strategy, it's been my go-to approach, and it has worked.
You know, I listened to you, Michelle, and I'm sitting here smiling because I heard that in a completely different way. I have to tell you, in first aid, they always say your reaction is always to jump in and fix it. And that's the one thing you absolutely should not do. You need to actually stop. You need to stop. You need to look at everything else that's happening around the immediate threat or the immediate need because you may spend all of your energy doing something that goes completely contrary to what you need to be doing.
Absolutely.
You know, you make such a very good point there. And that's as women as well, and perhaps even why we are seen as being emotional, because the first thing that we want to do is jump in and fix it, right? But time and experience teaches you that the first thing you really need to do is stop.
Yeah.
Take a
Breathe.
breath. You're so right. And it sounds really simple. I have to tell you, it's not that simple to actually execute it, right? It takes some.
No, because when people, you know, when it's a challenge and people are coming at you, and so the teams that I've worked with over the years, and that's one of the first things that we talk about, and when discussing team dynamics, and so whenever I have a new team, is when we have a challenge, you know, just give yourself some space.
Yeah.
You know, find a quiet corner, think it out. And they know as well, when they come to me with a challenge, right in the room, I am going to go into that quiet space. I'm just going to put my head down like this and just think it out for a moment.
Yeah.
Ask some questions, get to the core. Is it a vein?
Yeah.
Is it a surface cut?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and in collaborating for the solution, not a plaster, a solution that is sustainable,
yeah,
and can be reused.
Definitely.
One of my young mentors, you know, in the reverse mentoring program, was a technical person, and that's one of the things that I learned from her. You always develop for reuse. Do not ever develop just for and for one-time use.
Yeah, fantastic.
Reuse. So I applied that. I learned a lot from those young people, you know.
And there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot to learn, right? And that's the really fantastic thing, because this will give us an opportunity, I hope, that they will be feeding back into us and sharing their own experiences. And there's a lot to learn, because the world changes, right? So what we learned 20 years ago may have no relevance whatsoever. And so they need to have a voice. The younger ones coming in need to know that it's okay, these things will happen, life will happen in various forms. But there's still a lot of learning for us to do. And you said it earlier as well, that we live in, or we should always be in a state of learning, you know? So I quite enjoy the fact that you're going to become a mentor, but you're also mentored. You know, and that's a plus. That's a plus. Michelle, if you would believe it, we're almost at the end of our interview.
Enjoy this time, Wendy. This was I mean, you know, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, so a glass of wine really can't be done. But, you know, this was just such a relaxing and enjoyable session. Thank you very much for making it so.
I'm happy. I'm happy. And that's what we want to do, because we are so busy leading that we often don't get the time to share these experiences. And they're what shape us, right?
Yeah.
This is what people need to know to really understand who is sitting at the top and whose vision are we sharing and who are we batting for. You know, these things help. So Michelle, as we close, just one last question for you. To the lady leaders out there, and perhaps also just generally to the leaders to come, what is your advice to take us through the next generations?
Know your value. Know your value very well. Bring your value in all that you do. Bring yourself to the job and to life every day. Do not be discouraged or concerned about other person's advancements. Focus on where you want to be. Identify your journey and stay on that road. There will be potholes full of water wear some galoshes.
Mm-hmm.
There may be potholes full of rocks. Take off your stilettos and go barefooted.
Mm-hmm.
Keep on your journey. Be yourself. Know your value. Use your value. Bring your value every day.
Fantastic. Truly fantastic. And you know, the essence of Michelle has come out time and time again when I hear be authentic. In all that you do, be authentic. And you know, how do you become an authentic version of you? It really starts with knowing who you are.
Yeah.
You know, and you are a sum of all of your experiences in life, but more importantly, it's how you decide to process all of it.
Yes.
That's going to make the final determination. It's either you're going to be very bitter about your experiences, or you're going to ensure that for the next person who walks that journey, walks that path, you've left something of value, to borrow from Michelle, that they can pick up on. So Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your value with us today and your authentic self. I'm sure that we're going to find more creative ways to engage and ensure that we stay connected as ladies. And I know that there are lots of men out there who are cheering us on to continue to be successful. And Jean-Michel is going to be no different. I'm sure he's going to be extremely proud to share with his mom, and to know perhaps things that he didn't know that she went through when he sees this with you. So to all of you out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And Michelle, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.
And same to you, Wendy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.